Hello everyone, I'm JG. Welcome back to Music Forever, where today I'm going to be reviewing Metallica's second album, Ride the Lightning. Before starting this review, I just want to remind anyone that if you're interested in Metallica and you really like Metallica, I'm going to be reviewing all of their albums on my channel here. Of course, all I've reviewed so far is Kill 'Em All and now Ride the Lightning. All the other albums reviews should be coming out soon. I have a playlist on my channel that's going to be filled with all those if you're interested. Concerning the album itself, I think Ride the Lightning is a step up from Kill 'Em All because it improves on what the previous album did by adding some more, different things in there, not stuff that's just straight thrash metal music. They experiment a bit more here on this project. Also, one thing I noticed, the production here is a bit better. It still has that very rough, aggressive, not as super glossy, high-produced type of sound to it. However, it is a bit better than Kill 'Em All in my opinion. The lyrics here are also different than Metallica's previous album, which that album had a lot more metal cliche type of lyrics, a lot of, like stuff like Jump in the Fire that was about, hell and stuff like that. There was Four Horsemen, which was about the apocalypse. You had some, just metal headbanging type of tracks. The lyrics weren't super serious on that project, and I don't think they are super serious here. However, they're tackling more serious subject matter, such as war on tracks like Fight Fire with Fire, the death penalty on tracks like Ride the Lightning, and then of course suicide on Fade to Black. These are all kind of important issues, and Metallica isn't bringing something super complex or something super new with these subject matters. However, it is a bit of a step up from their previous effort in terms of being interesting and memorable. I mentioned before that Ride the Lightning sees Metallica trying out some new things with their sound, and one of these things is acoustic guitars. Now, on the opening track, Fight Fire with Fire, it starts off with this, acoustic guitar sound, which, might be a bit surprising to someone, I could imagine back when this album was first released after hearing Kill 'Em All only, which is a very straightforward, aggressive album. It starts off with this acoustic opener here on Ride the Lightning, and then after the acoustic part ends, it just, moves into one of the most aggressive Metallica songs that's ever been released. It's just, Fight Fire with Fire is just a furious track talking about nuclear warfare and all that kind of stuff, just super aggressive, and I like to switch up from the really laid-back kind of acoustic sound to this very intense, thrash metal song. The switch up is just genius in my opinion. Acoustic instrumentation could also be found on the beforehand mentioned Fade to Black, which, as I mentioned before, was a track about suicide. Now this song is definitely something different. It's kind of like a ballad, but different than Metallica's later ballads that they would go on to make during like the Black Album and Load and Reload era. Here it's still very aggressive, the song. It has these, the verses have the acoustic guitar, and they have this very sad kind of sound to them. However, when the chorus kind of comes, it gets this aggressive, energy to it. And of course, as the song progresses, towards the end, it starts to pick up energy again, and it's followed by a great guitar solo by James Hetfield, one of his best, guitar moments, I think, in Metallica. And I think it's interesting that they're able to pull off a ballad about, suicide that doesn't feel like super cliche. You'd think something this serious, they would try to keep it, a bit more, not as aggressive and in your face, a bit more mellow, a bit more sad. But here they capture a bit more than sadness in the emotional, aspect of it. There's a lot of anger here that you hear on this track. There's a lot of confusion that you hear, along with sadness also, especially during those acoustic verses. You really hear the sadness, but then during the chorus and towards the end of the song, you hear more anger, and I like that. Another highlight on the album is the track For Whom the Bell Tolls, which has this really cool opening that's done with the bass guitar. Many people think it's the guitar because of just the way it sounds, but it actually is the bass. And that's just a super cool. The track itself isn't a super aggressive in-your-face track. It's a bit slower pace, not super slow like parts on Fade to Black, but it kind of marches along, kind of like soldiers in battle, which, given that the song is kind of about war, I think makes sense. Lots of songs on this album have great openers, in my opinion. If you haven't mentioned already, I mentioned Fight Fire with Fire and For Whom the Bell Tolls. And also the title track, Ride the Lightning, just starts off with this pounding guitar riff right at the beginning before launching into the song. Really cool thing I noticed, this album as a whole has some really cool openings to the songs. And of course, I can't talk about this album without mentioning my favorite Metallica song, Creeping Death, which if you can't tell, I'm wearing a Creeping Death Metallica shirt. I don't think you could see it through there. It says Creeping Death down here. But yeah, it's my favorite Metallica song, and it's funnily enough, the first time I heard the song, I didn't think it was all too special. I thought it was good, but it took a while to grow on me, but when it did, oh my goodness, it is my favorite Metallica song. If I had just this song, everything about it is great. It starts off with, the fantastic riffage in the song, the lyrics, of course, dealing with kind of, the plagues of Egypt and stuff like that, really cool stuff. And, I remember reading about the song and the history behind it. The reason why they chose the title Creeping Death, because, one of the plagues was that it was going to kill the Pharaoh's son, and, one of the band members said it sounded like creeping death, and that's where it stuck. Really kind of cool concept, and the song kind of being told from the perspective of death. You kind of just get in the mindset of death, about to go out and, kill people. Really cool concept. Also, I have to mention the guitar solo on this track. Fantastic before leading into the breakdown section. Yes, there are breakdowns in genres of music that don't end in core. It's a real thing. And, it's fantastically done here, especially following up the guitar solo. Just awesome track. The chorus of the song is also super catchy, something I just want to scream along to every time I hear it. And the outro of the track is also super cool, just the instrumental part. I really like the way it ties everything together. This is just the perfect Metallica song in my opinion. Every aspect of it is great. All the instruments, the structure, everything that they're able to do, definitely a highlight. Now, if there's one part of this album that's kind of weaker than the rest, it would be, right following Fade to Black with the tracks Trapped Under Ice and Escape. Not that these are bad songs by any means, it's just that they're the two weakest on the album, and it doesn't really help that they're placed right next to each other. If they were spread out in the track listing separate from each other, I think it would work a bit better. And as I said, these tracks aren't bad, especially talking about Escape, because I know that's one that gets a lot of flack in the community. If people had to choose a least favorite from Ride the Lightning, it's usually Escape. Lots of people think that it's more of a radio-friendly song, I guess you could say, just with the more catchy hook to the track and things like that. It reminds a lot of people of the glam metal at the time, which I really don't agree with. The track doesn't sound very glammy at all, or, any of that kind of metal that you think about when you hear 80s metal, if you know what I'm saying by that. It reminds me a lot more of the new wave of British heavy metal, stuff like that. It reminds me a lot of the Iron Maiden track, The Prisoner, just, lyrically, both songs are kind of similar. Where, the hook on The Prisoner, he's talking about how he's a free man, and here he's talking about escaping. The two songs just remind me of each other. And I do like the Iron Maiden track better than Escape, but Escape is still a good song in my opinion. I was kind of surprised to find that there was a lot of, dislike for the song in the Metallica community. Not really dislike, just, if you had to pick a least favorite from Ride the Lightning, it's usually Escape, and I'd have to agree with that statement, but it's still not a bad song. Metallica also end the album on a high note with the track Call of Cthulhu, which is an instrumental track, and a fairly long one too. That's kind of an ambitious thing to do, end your album on a very long instrumental, but Metallica manages to pull it off very well, especially coming off the track Creeping Death, which I praised a ton before, but Call of Cthulhu is a great follow-up to that, and a nice way to end off this album. Plus, it's Cthulhu, and Cthulhu is always cool. Overall, I think this is one of Metallica's most well-rounded albums, in my opinion, second only to Master of Puppets, which we're going to be talking about soon. But some other changes I noticed on this album compared to their previous work, James Hetfield's vocals, while they are still very aggressive, they're not quite as, raspy and, rough as they were on Kill 'Em All. Here, they're a bit cleaner at times, especially on tracks like Fade to Black during the verses. However, there are still moments that remind me a lot of the vocal style he uses on Kill 'Em All. Ride the Lightning just sees Metallica trying tons of new things overall compared to their previous work. As I said before, you have those acoustic moments, you have the ballad of Fade to Black, you have those really cool intros on tracks like Fight Fire with Fire and For Whom the Bell Tolls, and, the instrumental outro, which is, very ambitious. At the same time, you have some more typical sounding Metallica stuff like Creeping Death as a whole. That song, pretty cool, just typical thrash stuff, and of course tracks like Trapped Under Ice and Escape, of course, being more standard tracks. Overall, I think it's a nice balance of, moving forward in a new direction and keeping what made Metallica great to begin with. And that's why I feel many people believe that Ride the Lightning is one of Metallica's best albums, possibly their best album. I think it's their second best, personally, but, just barely. That placement of Trapped Under Ice and Escape just next to each other, that's kind of what does this album the second place spot instead of the first, but, that's a minute thing. Still a great album. If you couldn't already tell, I can't recommend this album enough to you if you're a fan of metal, if you're a fan of rock music, if you're just a fan of music in general. It's a massive album. You definitely have to check it out. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss out on those future Metallica reviews, or any other reviews of albums I'll be doing. Of course, I cover metal, rock music, hip-hop music, all kinds of music here on the channel. You don't want to miss out on that. Leave a comment down below if you have anything you'd like to add, or your own opinion concerning the album. Thank you for watching, and stay golden.